Hey guys, how are you? So I am Srijita Sengupta and welcome to the fifth episode of our live podcast show Candidly Speaking. So one of the most hyped things in 2022 is obviously content creation. And according to all the stats, the most consumed content on internet is obviously related to technology. But the thing is, it's right that if a techie wants to build his personal brand through content creation, or if he wants to share his tech knowledge with the whole world, then if he can be a perfect fit for this tech content creation thing. But being a tech savvy is not obviously enough in this field because nowadays it's really so tough and difficult to handle all the things because people are often attracted towards wrong content in YouTube or in LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever. So one need to really add so much effort, smart work, and effective strategy to stand out in the crowd as a tech content creator. So, if you are a beginner in this field and want to continue in this career, then obviously don't get stressed. We got you covered. And today we are going to introduce you with a person who can give you insights about all these things and about how to stand out in the crowd as a front-end content creator because he has successfully built his audience base on LinkedIn. And he is currently the SDE3 at CoinDCX and he is none other than Mr. Sadanand Pai. So let's welcome him. Let me just add him. Yeah, hello Sadanand. How are you?
Hi, Shweta. Hi, I'm
Yeah,
great. How are you?
I am also great. Welcome to our podcast and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
So now, yeah. So now let me just add Rajat Mondal, our today's host.
Thank you, Srijita.
Yeah, that was all from me. Now I would like to leave and Rajat will continue with the show. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for joining. It is really a great pleasure. I mean, you give us some time on a weekend. So yeah, thank you for that. That's the first thing I want to say because I know you're a really busy guy. So the first thing that I want to ask you, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, sure, Rajat. So thanks for having me here. It's my pleasure. So I'm Sadanand Pai. I have around 8+ years of experience in total. So in that 3+ in front-end development. I mainly work on JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and also create contents related to the same things. And also, I have created few projects which are open source on GitHub. So currently, I'm working as an SDE3 at CoinDCX.
Okay. So before going into deep, can you tell us like your journey as a developer, as solely as developer, from when you passed out from your college till now? Like
Yeah,
what are the companies you joined? How much time did you serve? I mean, not really in detail, but the overall thing.
yeah. So in my 8 to 9 years of experience, initially I was at Infosys where I worked around for 5 years, and then after that I moved to Tech Systems where it was like kind of testing plus automation related stuffs. And then later I moved to Trelleborg, which was first experience as a developer in front. So that was my first company as a developer. And then after that I moved to CoinDCX. So in both the companies I have worked as a senior front end developer role, where my work involved mostly on React and Angular. So that is how it was.
Got it. Okay, so we will discuss about your journey so far and about content creation. But before that, I want to mention one thing. I was going through your LinkedIn profile, and there I saw you started your IT journey around February 2013, and like 2 or 3 months from now, you will complete a decade in software. So I want to ask you, what is the best advice you get so far from your seniors?
Sure, Rajat. So I am turning off my cam as it is a podcast.
Yeah, okay, not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, so in around a decade of experience, nearly to a decade now. So the main advice as a senior I give or the one which I have got.
What you receive and what you give to others.
Yeah. So if you see, most of my experience was into a different domain than development in the initial years. So the major advice what I have got from many people is that the first thing is that you become good at one thing. Don't try to be a master of everything. That is not which is going to happen, and people do try that. So that is not
Yeah.
the thing which one should try. And if it one can try, after that one has become a master of at least one subject or topic or any technology, we can say. That is the first thing what people say, become the master of one, jack of all. And the other
Yeah.
advice is that whatever you do it with the highest quality, be it a small task or be it a complete project you are doing alone, but do it with the highest quality. These are the two advices which I can think as of now, which I have got
Okay.
from my seniors.
Got it. And if you don't mind saying, what is the worst kind of advice you got? If you don't mind saying that.
So the worst advice is like it's a general advice people would give. It can be worst depending on the person and the situation. The worst
Yeah.
advice what I can say is that don't try to move between the technologies, or don't try to do something else after these many number of years. For example, in my case, I have spent around 5 to 6 years of experience in a different domain, and then I came to other development. So now, whenever
Yeah.
I ask people, is it possible to move, or should I try it? So people do say that no, don't do that. Now already you have spent these many years. Even if you don't like it, continue with this, because this is how you will grow in, at least in this field. Otherwise, you will not grow either in this or in that also. So this is like, depending on the person, it may become the worst advice.
Got it. Okay. So after this, I want to ask you, like, when did you started learning about front-end development, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript?
Yeah. So I guess that was around 2017, 18. Exact year I have forgotten now. So I
Got it.
had it was my second company where I was working. So in
Okay.
between, when I joined, so this is the mindset. Generally, when we join a company, we feel like we have cracked the interview and we are into the next level. So this
Yeah.
is what everybody thinks, and people when they ask, okay, you cracked the interview, you came. Now what else you need? You can just take the money, have fun, and relax. This is what the mindset even I had for initial 3 to 4 months. And then after that, I started comparing, which is not a great thing to do, but still I started comparing myself with others, just to know where do I stand. Is it the right place for me to be in the industry? In the way the trend is going on. Then I found that I am much lagging a lot, I can say. And there were a lot of gaps in the sense, not with respect to a guy who is like top in the industry, but at least the average industry standard, if we say. And tomorrow, if let's say recession comes and 60 to 70% of the people lose the job, you should not be in that 70%. So make
Yeah.
sure that you are in the cream layer. So that is what I understood. If you are in that position or in that layer, you can always survive. There is a high chance. There is no guarantee, but still high chance. So that is what I felt. And then after that, I analyzed the market, I analyzed the roles, and also the future prospects for different kinds of roles and positions. At this point, I felt that I need to move from my current domain to the domain which I like. And that was a tough decision to take at that point. And that is where I started with the front end development journey, like from zero, I can say.
Got it. So, what was the time duration between you started your journey and got your first job or internship?
Yeah, so the total duration, I can say 6 months. It included the decision making activity also. The
Got it.
day when we started discussing the things with others, like I started talking to every random person in the office, that how do you feel about your job? Are you happy with the job or not? If the person is doing backend development, I used to ask them, how much do you work? Do you feel it is tough? What do you think in future? What will happen? So these things I used to ask. So after asking so many people in front end, I felt like I am comfortable with front end for multiple
Yeah,
reasons. And then including that time, I can say it took 6 months to get the offer letter.
got it. Okay, so now coming back, like you said you started at 2017, so I am assuming that it is after the Geo thing, like Geo launched in India after that.
Yeah, should be after that.
Okay. So I had this question like if you had started before that, I mean you started after that, so the question is invalidated now. But how did you gather the resources? Like from where you will study? How did you identify that from this resource I should study?
Yeah, right. So for front end development, as I had connected with so many people,
Yeah,
whatever they were telling, I was noting down those things. So even if somebody says some junk advice also on front end, I used to have that noted,
got
and
it.
I had kept everything in one place, like not exactly the way I have created the technical stuffs, but in a rough way I had noted everything. And then whenever multiple people used to talk about the same thing, it used to get the upvote in my mind. That is how it used to work. And it doesn't happen overnight, because when I let's say a person gets to know about something like about X, then if the person hears about X from multiple people, now
Yeah,
that X value obviously will increase for him or her. So that is how it
yeah,
happens. So at the we have to do our research. So I did my research for 1 to 2 months. In that, there are top things which I have categorized, which so many people had recommended. And then after that, I picked one of the resources and tried it out. If it had worked for me, I continued. If it was like going above my head, then yeah, obviously I would drop that.
got it. So can you suggest one or two things that you followed, you personally followed?
Yeah, sure. So in the front end development, let me tell about bit about my learning strategy also, so that it
Yeah,
will be clear. So
yeah,
I had divided my study into HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Only three fundamental stuffs to start with. In that, my 60 to 70% of the focus was JavaScript, and then
okay,
10 to 15% CSS, and the rest all HTML.
yeah,
In this way, I knew I had to study only JavaScript. And after discussing and exploring multiple options, I got to know the best book to learn JavaScript is You Don't Know JS,
yeah,
which is not easy to learn, easy to understand, but which is like almost complete, which is near to the specifications. Reading specifications or understanding specifications for a new person like a beginner or even an intermediate person in front end or JavaScript is not easy. So that is the thing which I got to know. The next thing which one can approach is the book You Don't Know JS, and there are similar other books also, but the one which I picked was this book. So this had six books in that series one. So I
okay,
started with book one, and though I had started, I won't recommend it for any beginner. I could understand the way the author had written, and then it became something which I could understand and digest. So that is the first resource which I picked. And then about HTML and CSS, I was not that serious, as you can say. I had given only 20%, 20% to HTML, CSS, but that should not
yeah,
be the case. But for those, I used MDN and CSS Udemy tutorials.
okay. So you said something about that in You Don't Know JS book, there is something written about the specification. So can you a little bit elaborate that for people who don't understand it?
Yeah. So JavaScript specifications is the documentation which exactly tells how the JavaScript should work in the browser or any other environment. So
Yeah.
this is written mainly for developers to understand, developers of JavaScript. So it need not be that everybody should understand this. It is mainly written, we can say low level language, which can be
Yeah.
understood by the people who understand all the jargons. So it is written for people who develop or who contribute to the JavaScript. And also this can be understood if required by all the developers as well. But the amount of effort which you will be spending will be huge on that, and you cannot start as a beginner. You don't know anything about JavaScript or front end,
Yeah.
and you directly jump into specifications. That cannot happen. So that is what is specification. The next thing is the people who read through these specifications, who may or may not, but their quality of the content on JavaScript will be much more accurate, like not
Got it.
exactly a specification, but they won't tell you something wrong, but it will not have those refined details, but all the details which are required for you as a developer, for you to grow as a developer. So such content will be there usually in the books.
Got it. So, if someone is beginner, you won't recommend reading through that book.
No, I don't recommend.
Okay. So now coming to your content creation phase. So did you started doing content creation from the point you started learning about JavaScript, or is it after that?
No, I did not start when I started with my development journey. So when
Yeah,
I had started, it took like 1 to 1.5 years to get stable in the front end.
got it.
A lot of learning curve is there, the learning the theory part, learning the mini projects. But when you are
Yeah,
doing the real projects on the job, so that is completely different. So I
okay.
invested that time to understand the project, the way we interact with the other front end developers, and way we make it better. So these things and all took around 1 to 1.5 years. After that, I started searching for the job. So that is where I started exploring also all the contents which are required to prepare for the interview and also to become a good developer. So at that point, I felt that the front end contents are there, but it is completely like in the random places. These are not categorized or not kept in a
Yeah,
single place that you can go and access, or you can't say that okay, this is the way you become a good front end developer. There was no such thing when I was searching for the resources. So that is where I thought like, if I am feeling this, I am going through this challenge, there must be
yeah,
so many other people who will also go through this challenge. That is the first thing. Then the second thing is, if I keep the content or build the content or modify the content or copy the content, could be anything, it will be
yeah,
helpful for me as well in the future, maybe for an interview or for a task which is assigned at the company. So with that mindset, I started collating all the resources or creating the resources. So that is where everything started about the content creation, technical stuff.
So after 1 year of starting your front end journey, nearly after 1 year of
Yeah,
starting that. Got it.
yeah.
So, I mean, I have gone through them personally when I was preparing for it. So it is really good, first of all. So I can't imagine how much time did it took to make one of the cheat sheets or the documents. So can you tell us a little bit about the behind the scenes while making those?
Yeah. So one of the first content which I had made was like the popular one I can say was
Yeah,
JavaScript code challenges. So that is a repo, open source repository on my GitHub.
yeah,
Every day, so many people visit the repository, and it is beneficial for me also, even today, because few of the questions which I had created,
hmm,
I have forgotten that, and I have to practice it. So that
yeah,
is before creating that, the first thing what I did was I connected with many front end developers and I asked them the question. I If you wanted to practice these kind of things, where do you go? So nobody had an answer. Why I asked? Because to make sure that the content which I am going to build will not go waste.
Yeah.
Because if
True.
it is already present somewhere and which I am not aware, then it is of no use.
Yeah.
Though it may add some value personally because I have spent effort in creation of that, but it need not be so formal so that it can be. It need not be that formal. I can just go do it in the informal way. So that is the reason I investigated about that, and I did not get a satisfactory answer. And that is where I started with the content creation of for this code challenges repo. It took me around 3 months to complete. The way I started was that I started writing down all the questions possible, and it
Yeah.
took me around 1 month to come up with all the questions. And initially, when I started, it was like 10 questions which I could come up. I thought of some print number from 1 to 10 in the set timeout interval, etc., etc. So like this, 10 questions came, and I dropped this idea initially. But then I thought, okay, let's be 10 questions, I will do it. So then I started writing all the questions topic by topic. And at last it became 180 questions. So this is just listing
Oh.
down the questions. So 180 questions I created. So I had a rough idea in the sense I had written everything in my notepad, like how the question should look in the rough way. It was not
Yeah.
very clear, not formal. And then
Yeah.
one by one, I picked, categorized them, like the arrays, the collections, then the functions related stuff. So topic by topic, I categorized them. And after that, I started writing the answer. And after writing few answers, I discussed it with my friends and asked them, what do you think about this? So they gave few feedback. So they
Yeah.
said there should be some reference details, because if I want to know something more, you can't write everything. I can't
Yeah.
write everything about array. So there should
Yeah.
be some references. So I added the reference. Then they said you should add some notes which are very important and which can be asked in the interview. So I added the notes. So in this way, it started getting developed. And for the complete completion of this single repo, it took
Yeah.
me 3 months.
That's a lot of time. I mean,
Yeah.
now I know that why it is so good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now moving on. Uh, when did you notice that people are noticing your content on LinkedIn? Like from the point you started publishing those, and how much time did it took?
Yeah, so initially when I had started, so generally what I have seen on LinkedIn or other platforms, they start publishing the content or sharing the content only when
Yeah.
they join a top product company. Until then, they don't do anything. This could be because that they are busy in studying, or the other thing is that they people think that if you are from top company, then only people will recognize you. So that is
Yeah.
there, but it is some lag will be there. You might take more time if you are not in a well-known company. But it happens. Like eventually, you will get that recognition for the work you have done.
Yeah.
So initially, I started with the simple content to help people who are struggling like me. So that was like around. It took around 6 months to 1 year, and after that, after 1 year, the content started getting the recognition. Like the amount of effort I'm talking about, not about the publicity or the reach. But people started appreciating the work or the content because it was not available anywhere else, and
True.
something is available made tailored for the your needs. So such
Yeah.
contents started getting the appreciation. So it
Got
was
it.
like 1 year to get noticed, I can say.
I mean, keeping in mind, we're talking about current scenario of LinkedIn. There are so many content creators on front, specifically on front end. Okay, I think that you are aware of that. So, what would you suggest one should do to gain a regular audience base without compromising the quality of that content?
Yeah, so the general thing is that nowadays the content is so much that people get confused what to consume and what not
Yeah,
to.
True.
But the main thing is that if you see or if you have followed people who give the quality content, so they pause for some time when they don't have the quality content or they don't have something which they have created. So it takes time for them to give the content out. So there are few people who just share the contents no matter what to just keep that consistency for the reach. So so
Yeah.
you can consume everything, there is no problem with that, but see that how it is adding the value, because few people really work hard and they try to add the value on the content whatever you consume, but few things are not adding that much value. So depending on the kind of value which you are getting, you should pick whom to follow. But follow all, what I would say, but
Yeah.
consume the content carefully, because you don't have that much time to consume everything.
True. So, as we're talking about that, so whom do you follow on LinkedIn about this kind of content that you think that adding value to yourself?
Yeah. When I was preparing for my interviews or
Yeah.
in general,
Hmm.
I used to follow like the people who are like experts. That is the first thing which my friends told me, and one of the advice I can say. Because when the content is coming from the specification or any original source of truth to somebody else, it is already like 10% diluted. Now that person writes the book or creates the content. Again, the 10% is lost there, and then it comes to you. Now you are getting around 70 to 75% of the actual content. But if you
Yeah.
are getting it via so many people, let's say somebody is teaching them this stuff, and that person is again conducting the sessions, and that person is conducting a YouTube channel and then sharing the knowledge. Now the dilution will be like up to 50%. So that is the reason I prefer following the experts. So for JavaScript, I have followed Kyle Simpson a lot. And apart from that, for the preparations, I have followed Sunny Puri, who is on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
So, so I was involved in the community where he used to moderate, like even now. So there I got to know a lot of stuffs. And apart from that, I have followed Akshay Saini also for all the YouTube related stuffs, the videos.
Got it. So yeah, that was a really good set of resources for a beginner. I mean, I can say that because as you said, the Sunny Puri thing. So the DOM manipulation series by Sunny Puri is really great, I guess.
Yeah, right. So when I was studying, like after getting into front end, there are a lot of content to get into front end, but to continue in front end as a good developer, you will find the contents hardly, like the quality contents, what I meant to say.
Yeah, true.
So at that point, the community helped me a lot. So where the sessions were conducted, and I was part of all the DOM challenges, then the November talks, and so many things were there. These
Got
helped
it.
me a lot to gain additional knowledge or get an edge over other people.
Got it. Okay, so we are down to our last few minutes. So I am going to ask you like, how did you get the opportunity to interview at CoinDCX?
Yeah. So I was searching for a good product-based company, be it a startup or an established company. So I was
Yeah,
applying for multiple companies. It was during December time. I was applying, but I was not actively applying everywhere. I was
mm,
specifically applying through the platforms such as LinkedIn or similar places where the opportunities will be like specific to you. It is not like the mass hiring which is happening. So in such platforms, I was trying, and then I
okay,
got HR connected with me. She was from entire website. They are like a middleman connecting people with the product or any other companies.
got it.
So she advised me to apply through their platform, and then I created my profile there. And then there was one interview which was on DSA and JavaScript, conducted by their platform itself. They judge us depending on that interview, and they publish the results. And depending on these results, the other companies which are present, we can apply. So in this way, I applied to 2 to 3 companies, and I did not get selected. In the sense, my resume was not shortlisted in those companies. But
Got
then
it.
CoinDCX contacted me, and then I went through their around 4 rounds of interview process, and yeah, that is where I got into CoinDCX.
Does that actual interview include a DSA or was it just front end?
So the major focus was front end. So nowhere it was told that this is a DSA round. You have to prepare for DSA. So there was no such kind of thing. But
Okay.
the kind of questions asked had involved the DSA stuff. So, for example, we build something, or they asked to build something, we build it, and after that, how do you optimize it? So it was a front
Hmm.
end specific question, but it had involved DSA. If you know DSA, you can do it better. So it was that condition.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, the 4 rounds of interview is a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about the question, kind of question? I mean, I know that you can't uh, tell us the exact question, but a kind of question.
Yeah. So initially, what most of the companies, like during CoinDCX interview, I
Yeah.
had attended multiple interviews in few of the product companies. The general kind of interview strategy, or the approach will be that the first round will be more on the fundamental stuff, where they ask HTML, CSS, and
Yeah.
JavaScript related things.
Yeah.
And later, the second round will be if you are good in any framework, which you must be nowadays.
Yeah.
They ask on Angular or React, or even if you have worked on any other framework, it is fine. You can tell them, because your resume is shortlisted, so they are fine with that. It will be like a creation of a component, where there will be specifications given. You have to design your component in that way, and then you have to make that component reusable and other stuff. And after that, the round will be, if it is present for SDE2 or a higher role, it will be on system design, where they give a complex design, or maybe a simple design which grows complex as the time goes on. So these things happen. The general system design will not involve a lot of technical syntax related stuff. And the fourth round will be cultural fit or manager round.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So now, if you can reveal it, what kind of tech stack do you use in your day-to-day work?
Yeah. So day-to-day work, if I have to tell, 2 things I would say.
Yeah.
Generally, most of the things will be the office work, but when I am doing the my personal work on GitHub, so that
Yeah.
also I count as a day-to-day work.
Okay.
Majorly, I work on Angular, and most of my personal projects I have done it in React, because React is known to most of the people. That
Yeah.
is the reason I have picked React.
Got it. I hope, I mean, we always learn new things as a front-end developer. So, is there anything that you learned or learning that is little to none use of in your work, in your daily work?
Yeah, sorry, can you please repeat?
Yeah. So, for example, if you learn something in past, for example, you learned a new framework, for example, Vue, but you don't
Yeah.
use it. So, if did you learn anything like that that you don't use currently?
Yeah, I have learned a few frameworks or libraries, you can say, which I don't use.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they have become like, they might have become useful, because when we are taking the decision, as I had used it, I knew what are the benefits and
Yeah.
its downsides. So that is kind of thing.
True. So yeah, now I don't have any more question. I only have one last question. So I would like you to turn on your camera again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I am also a fresher, and some people are going to pass out really soon. So if you have any kind of advice for them who want to go into the front end development field, so please feel free to share that.
Yeah, so the general question people ask is about DSA specifically as a fresher,
Yeah.
whether DSA is needed or not. What I would say is DSA, learning it in the later stages of your career might become difficult. And there are many companies which are picking you based on DSA only. So if you don't want to miss out on anything, then go for DSA. This is the time, and do the development parallelly if possible. Or else if you are you know what you need specifically, for example front end and only front end without DSA, then it is fine. Even development you can do, and learn DSA kind of what is needed during the job. You can do it in that way also. You need not learn a complete DSA and then jump into front end. But whenever you come across the challenges, let's say you are creating a mini project and you came across a challenge. So let's say a simple example, Sudoku solver. So I have created a Sudoku solver. Now, when I started
Got
it,
it.
I was not aware how does it work. But then I had to learn it and apply it and make it work. So that is also fine.
Got it. So that's a really good advice. And before ending, I want to appreciate one thing, and that is now I saw people's profile on LinkedIn, and they have this tag in their bio like 2K plus, 5K plus followers, but you have 42,000 plus followers on LinkedIn, but you don't really have that anywhere in your LinkedIn profile. So I really want to appreciate that, because that is something that is actually rare these days, because people want to showcase that, but you don't. You just want to showcase your content, and that is why we were so excited to have you on this podcast. And also, thank you for joining us. So, if you have anything, you can say it, or we can just end the podcast here.
Yeah, thanks, Rajat. It was great talking to you and whole team. Thanks to them for organizing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.